get my script ready. Today's interview date is March 1st, 2016. And my name is Carolyn Tillman. And I am interviewing Alton Garrett for the Archiving Black History in the Inland Empire Project. His name is spelled, first name, Alton, last name, Garrett. We are interviewing here at San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools office in San Bernardino, California. Thank you, Alton, for taking the time out to conduct this interview with us. You know, I had a curious question even before when I was filling out this form. You weren't related to the Garretts?
From here?
From here?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
No.
So then, tell me your story. How did you get to the Inland Empire, San Bernardino County in particular, when, and the whys and wherefores of what had brought you to this interview?
Okay. I arrived in San Bernardino on about the 15th of August of 1985. I arrived here from Korea. I was on active duty in the military at the time, and my assignment from Korea was to Norton Air Force Base to be the chief of the Consolidated Base Personnel Office at Norton. I was married at the time, and my wife also was on active duty, and her assignment was to work in the JAG office, the legal office at 15th Air Force, which is located over in March Air Force Base in Riverside, Moreno Valley area. I arrived here and worked at the as the Consolidated Base Personnel Office, the CBPO as we called it, as the Director of Personnel. At that time, it was the Consolidated Personnel Office for all military actions for everybody on the base that military. We took care of, out of one building, we took care of everything personnel. Assignments, finance, training, efficiency reports, bad records, whatever. We maintained the records. We maintained everything about military personnel was maintained in that one building.
Okay, what was your rank at that time?
I was the Chief Master Sergeant at that time. So I was the #1 NCO in the building. So everyone essentially in the building actually, even though the officers thought we worked for them, but they actually worked for me. You know, but everyone in the building really worked for me. I was the go-to guy as far as the knowledge and as far as the decision making or whatever the case may be in that building. Had about 150 to 200 people.
How many years in the military up to that time?
Up to that time, I had about 24, because I retired in '89 with 27 and a half years in the military. So I had about 24, 25 at that time.
Okay.
I just came here from Korea, where I served as a command chief and also as director of personnel for the Air Force element, which was at Yongsan.
Okay.
I had about 400 people there that I was responsible for make sure all of their personnel activities was taken care of and all. So.
But your life didn't start in Korea.
My life didn't start in Korea, no. Korea was actually my last overseas assignment. My great life started in Nashville, Tennessee, way back in 1943.
Okay.
You know, I was born and raised in Nashville. Graduated from high school in Nashville in 1961. Immediately joined the Army because I didn't have any money to go to college and did not think I wanted to try to find a textile job or any other type jobs. That was all I was going to get probably there. So I joined the Army. Went to basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. As a good story with that basic training, and didn't know it at that time. But my dear deceased friend, Ratibu Jaycox, and I were in the same basic training company at that time. However, we did not know each other at that time and did not realize that we were in the same basic training company until 1994 when we were out here in California.
Wow.
But we were in the same basic training company at that time. He went to Kansas and I went to Germany. So graduated from basic training, went and learned my skill, which was clerk typist, and went to Germany. Spent the next 3 years in Germany. Left Germany, came back to the States, went to Fort Ord in California. Left Fort Ord in California after 2 months and went to Fort Benning, Georgia. and then I separated from the service on my normal date of separation, which was in October of 1965. Went back to Nashville, got a job, worked as a coin teller in the Federal Reserve Bank system. Did not like the job, did not like what I was doing at all, you know. Really found out that they hired me only because I was black, not because I was qualified for the job, you know. So when I found out that that's why they hired me, I went and asked the guy who was our supervisor, and he didn't answer my question. He just turned bright red in the face, so I knew the answer, so I quit, you know. So, but before I quit, I just decided I needed a job, so I went down to the Army recruiter, because I'd been in the Army for the past 4.5 years. I got out of the Army as an E5, and I said, I'll go back in the Army. So I went down to talk to the Army recruiter. Army recruiter was having a bad day, and he heaped it all on me. So as I was leaving the courthouse, this young E5 in the Air Force stopped me, and we started talking. And before I left that day, I was an E4 in the Air Force on my way to Mayfair Air Force Base in California. Okay, so that's how I wound up being in the Air Force on about the 2nd of December in 1965.
Now, I know you have mounted some degrees since your leaving Nashville. When did you get your education in the Air Force, or did you wait till after the Air Force to?
I started in the Air Force.
Okay.
I started my undergrad degree. As I progressed along in the Air Force, I went to school here and there, night school here, night school there, and all. Got an associate's degree while assigned to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and then when I came to Korea, I took a couple of classes. Then when I came to Norton, Southern Illinois University had a program where they sent professors out to the bases, and I enrolled in that program through Southern Illinois, and I got my undergrad degree from Southern Illinois through that program. After I retired from the military and still with some GI Bill left, I decided to go back to school to get my master's degree, and I actually had enrolled in Cal State to get a master's degree in ed and counseling, but I was offered a job to work in the College of Business and Public Administration, so I opted to go from the College of Education to the College of Business and Public Administration, and I got my master's degree in public administration. So after I arrived in Mayfair, I stayed in Mayfair for a couple of years. Went to Vietnam in '67, from '67 to '68. Came back from Vietnam and went to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. Was there for a couple of years and went back to Mayfair. Was there for 1 year. Went back to Vietnam for another year. Came back to Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois. Stayed there for a couple of years and went to Greenland for a year. Left there and went to Kansas for 3 years. And left Kansas and went to Colorado Springs for 4 years at the Air Force Academy, and then left the Air Force Academy and went to Korea for 2 years, and then I came to Norton. So that's how my trip around brought me to Norton Air Force Base.
You've seen a lot of.
Been around a while, you know. Seen a lot of the world, you know. Loved every minute of it.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so you're here in Norton, and obviously that puts you in the heart of the San Bernardino community. So when did you kind of start breaking away from just your military life and started getting involved in the community?
I didn't know anything about the San Bernardino community until 1989.
Okay.
I lived in Moreno Valley.
Oh.
And I commuted from Moreno Valley to Norton. At that time, I was married, and my wife at that time was stationed at March Air Force Base. So what we had decided was, because March belonged to Strategic Air Command, to SAC, they play alerts all the time. So I didn't think that it would be wise for her to have to drive in the middle of the night or early in the morning to get to March Air Reserve Base. So we bought a house over there, and I was the one who commuted. She drove 5 minutes to work. I drove a half hour, 40 minutes, depending on traffic, over here. So when we decided that we wanted to be apart from each other, I moved over to San Bernardino, but I was still on active duty. Okay, so I had taken a job at the National Orange Show as a bartender, because I had taught myself to be a bartender throughout my military life, and needing to work part-time, I opted to work as a bartender, which was a good thing for me. So I had taken a job at the National Orange Show as a bartender, and one day the general manager called me in and offered me a job, and really I couldn't refuse, because the pay at that time was very comparable to what the guys were getting to drive all the way to Long Beach and to Santa Monica and all around to work at Boeing and Lockheed and all of these places. But I only had to drive like 5 minutes from my house to take the job. So that brought me into the city of San Bernardino. From there, I started attending chamber meetings and started doing this and that. About 1991, I moved from being the director of beverages and to be the director of sales and marketing for the National Orange Show. And at that time, it was discussed that I needed to be embedded more into the community. So that's when I really started getting into community. That's when I joined WAG at that time. I became a member of the Private Industry Council, which was at that time the PIC board, but now it's the WIB board. You know, that's the PIC was the precursor to the WIB. So I joined the PIC board as a business person, and started really getting myself in the community. And so actually I've been a part of WAG since about 1991.
Okay, and
Yeah.
who are the significant faces around the table?
Oh, at that time around the table, WAG was, West Jefferson, geez, I can't remember, Frank Stallworth, Bill Parker, Garrett, I can't remember his first name, Willie Garrett, Don Griggs was there, Hardy Brown was a strong supporter and still is a strong supporter of WAG and all. Ratibu was there, it was just that collection of people who was there, Don Townsend, was there, Keith Lee from the county, from the county of San Bernardino was there, we can go on, and Briggs was there, he left and moved up north, I think to Stockton somewhere. He was, here in San Bernardino for a while, So it was just a good opportunity for me to get immersed in the community. So that's what I did,
And so what was it that made you stick with WAG? Obviously it wasn't, you've been there so many years and you no longer work for National Orange Show in that capacity. What did you find out about that organization that made you dedicate so much?
How can you not belong to WAG if you are authorized and eligible to belong to it? I mean, it's a place where you can go and meet and express yourself and without any retribution, without any malice or forethought, or anything. It's just a matter of, what you say in this room is about what you say in this room. It's not about any personalities, it's nothing personal. No one is gonna get mad at you for saying it, they expect you to say what you really, really believe, And some of the things that just WAG has done over the years, it's been great, WAG has been a strong proponent of the community. Has done a lot of things in the community. It's fought a lot of battles in the community, with respect to, certain cities not celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, fought with, I think, with Fontana for a while with that, and fought with the city of Highland for a while with that, fought with the county of San Bernardino in their first 5, for some actions that they were taking, and trying to put someone in charge of first 5 who, in my opinion, couldn't spell up if you gave them the U and the P, So that was some of the things that we did, and so we also helped the community. We raised money through our benevolence fund, which we named after the late Frank Stallworth, and we give that money out. We don't have per se an overhead, but we support everything and everyone in the community, the Swans Club, the Botillion, all of the different breakfasts and dinners and luncheons that people have. We try to buy a table for every one of those events, and this is all money that comes from the memberships of WAG, So that's why I'm there. That's why I like going to WAG. I try to make the meetings every Monday, if possible, and then, every once in a while we have what we call an executive meeting on Wednesday mornings where we can figure out what we're going to do about a special issue without the general public needing to know about it, because it's just a membership of WAG that's there. And WAG is open to the public, You know, we don't have any problems with anyone wanting to come and present to WAG on a Monday, but the membership in WAG is all black males, you know, and it's been that way, and it will probably stay that way, you know.
And the quality of the community feeling safe to come forward and bring vital issues, where perhaps maybe WAG will be the first to hear perhaps an injustice that the community might be feeling, and be able to vet what truth may come from those issues and make a decision about how to strategically address an issue. Is that just always been a part of the process, or how did it, or did it just sort of grow and develop into that kind of reform?
I think that as we develop, as any organization may develop, you know, I think WAG has developed along those lines. Way back when, you know, and you know, let's take the San Bernardino County Sheriff Department. You know, San Bernardino County Sheriff Department kind of put that that community relations division together. You know, where Norm Nunez has been with that since day one. Ron Cochran, you know,